Growing up, I was aware that I was not white, but it was never a problem or something I felt marginalized about. When I was 5, I witnessed blatantly, for the first time, the difference in treatment between myself and my mother when I ordered a hot chocolate at a cafe my friends and I would go to after school. It's important to note that my mother is visibly dark and she has a strong accent that many people cannot recognize. Upon ordering our snacks, my mother had paused what she was saying to the server and pointed to me so I could say what I wanted. She clearly still had things to say, as she had not finished ordering, but I was impatient. When the server looked at me, dismissive of my mother as she was growing tired of her accent, she repeated the order to me, a 5-year-old, as if my memory or awareness of my surroundings was higher than that of my mother simply because I did not have an accent and am white passing. I believe that this incident is accompanied by the fact that my mother is a woman. My father also has an accent, but not as strong as my mother's. He is Norwegian and Yemenite, so he is lighter, but still clearly a person of color. I believe there is this notion that women of color gain wealth through men in Western societies rather than hard work, whereas men work hard to excel in their careers. I believe this is one of the reasons my mother was treated disrespectfully. Additionally, there is a negative view of immigrants, which I experienced through my mother's white Australian friends. I remember when my sister and I would point out her accent in front of her friends, and immediately they would scold us for doing so as if it was disrespectful. But for us, there was no negative connotation to having a strong accent. If anything, it reminded us of home. I only now realize that I should have said something then, as a white passing person. I could have explained how their preconceptions made mine and my sister's comments seem malicious, because they had negative dispositions surrounding people of color. McWilliams here says, quote, "As a light-skinned black woman, I've purposefully passed for white only once in my life, which is not to say I haven't passed unintentionally many times. When white folks around me vented their subterranean racism, I like to consider myself a warrior, a masked super spy." McWilliams explains how discussing racist issues as a white passing person is important. Because you are in less danger, and possibly because white people do not seem to feel as confronted or guilty in the conversation. This is an example of how my mother's friends thought they had an intersectional understanding of the situation by disciplining my sister and I into what I assumed they thought was mocking, but instead they made us realize they saw her as other in a negative way. It seems they were too busy categorizing what they saw rather than understanding it as the innocent interaction that it was, which is discussed by Phoenix and Patanama, where intersectionality can lack nuance when there is a priority to categorize identities over being culturally sensitive. This quote from Phoenix and Patanama, quote, "Some of the articles refer to Judith Butler's 1990 skeptical discussion of the etc. that often appears at the end of lists of social divisions, and her claim that it signals both exhaustion and an illimitable process of signification, describe how Judith Butler offers an explanation for the incessant desire to categorize individuals over promoting true diversity and cultural tolerance. Overall, I always considered my mother strong, and I did not even realize that she was treated so differently until a few years ago. It was scary when I realized that both being a woman, specifically a woman of color, were two things about me that I may be hated for, yet I cannot change these things about myself.